Hello, and welcome to the PC Gaming Weekspot, your recap of the last 7 days in PC video gaming. My name is Colin Mahern, and joining me this week, he will not be defining Platform X, but it is the operator of a very successful console, and it does not have Game Pass. It's the one and only Mr. Matthew Castle.
Hello, it's Host X.
Yeah, I went for a video gaming reference this week. Did you see all of that PlayStation hubbub?
This is the guy complaining about how difficult the indie experience was on an unnamed Platform X.
Sorry, yes. It could be PlayStation, could be Nintendo, could be loads of them. Could be the one Wonder Swan, I don't know.
Platform X, which is a platform that doesn't have Game Pass. And then I love that I saw an initial wave of, fuck Nintendo. And you were like, no,
close. It was it's very interesting. I'm very interested in all that, like how much developers have to pay to get featured and stuff, whether they do have to get paid, and like how much control they have over discounts on the store and all that. Like it was very it was interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting from the perspective of just how the console indie ecosystem seems to have changed, like 10 years ago, or maybe not 10 years ago, definitely around the launch of like the last generation. It felt like indies were being sort of wielded as a bit of a weapon by the platform holders, particularly Sony, who always made quite a good song and dance about supporting these things. I mean, the Vita was sort of a portable Steam machine, or as people kind of called it at the time. And that has noticeably faded. Like they're now just a company that wants you to buy The Last of Us and all their other games, which are like bad versions of The Last of Us. So, I guess they were useful when they needed them, and now they're like, eh.
I mean, it always happens in console in the console world, doesn't? Like, I mean, Nintendo are an island unto their own, but like with regards Xbox and PlayStation, it's if you're on top, you don't have to do these things. But the problem is, like you don't have to court indies. You don't have to I don't know, have maybe more consumer friendly tactics and strategies in certain avenues. But the problem is, like, both of them keep whoever's like winning, they keep kind of falling and not learning from the previous generation when maybe the other one was on top.
It's weird because I think generally Xbox have a slightly better track record, in that when Xbox 360 was on top, that kind of went hand in hand with XBLA, which is quite an important part of the kind of the indie boom. A lot smaller, but a lot more kind of curated, really supported. And I think that naturally continues through like Idea Xbox. I mean, it's a much more open platform. So there's now like it seems that there are a lot more games are able to get onto them, which is, where these issues of discoverability come from that the developer was complaining about this week. But like, having been to shows, and going to conventions and things, you see that Xbox are generally better at supporting this stuff. Like they take Idea Xbox to Rezzed, for example, which PlayStation don't have an equivalent there. So, anecdotally, to me, Xbox seem a lot more present. But
I mean,
I'm sure there is roughness to both of them. But
I suppose that was after a bit of a stumble at the beginning of the Xbox One's lifespan.
Yeah, I think Idea Xbox has always been a thing for them, but I don't know.
That was a very game-centric opening. Sorry about that, everyone.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't really about PC gaming, but...
Well, we normally have something a bit, I don't know, something about Matt Hancock or something at the start, so I can only apologise. But look, we are talking about video games, so let's carry on. Matthew, could you grab your news crank for me and open that gob of yours? Because I indeed have some information snacks for you.
Info snacks for his gob.
Quite a few info snacks for you, actually.
I'm starving this morning, so you better chuck them in.
So, following up on last week's Dead Space chat, the latest Dead Space rumour is that it isn't, in fact, a reimagining, which was the word on the street, but the latest one is that it is a full-blown remake. This comes from GamesBeat, who said that EA have been spurred on by the success that Capcom have had with Resident Evil. They're like, why can't we make that money? What's that about? So, I mean, it's been a while since the original Dead Space. That was 2008. So I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that we could be looking at a complete remake of the original Dead Space. Bring people back in.
I'd rather it depends how much of a remake or reimagining it is, or a reimagining of the first one, because by default, a horror game that you've already played and you know the rhythm of it is going to be less effective. So he's hoping they're taking like the idea of it and the tone of it and doing their own thing.
Resident Evil was cited as a sort of an inspiration for this, if it does come to pass. So maybe they will go down the Resident Evil 2 and 3 route and, change little bits, change the route here or change a puzzle or whatever here, But yeah, we'll see more in, about 2 weeks now-ish, give or take. Xbox Cloud Gaming, Matthew, the formerly xCloud, that is now available to all Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers. I've had a little mess around with it, very little. Works quite well. I don't know if you've played it or if you've
I've actually played a bit of it on my phone and was...
what's it like on the phone?
Yeah, it's good. If you Bluetooth connect a controller with it or whatever, and then you're playing a bit of Ori or, the Last Dragon Quest, and it's pretty impressive.
It is. Yeah. So, Game Pass, good.
We're not sponsored by it, honestly.
BioWare, some sad news in the world of EA. BioWare has said that they're not going to be showing anything off at EA Play on the 22nd of July. So no Dragon Age or Mass Effect. And speaking of BioWare, former GM Casey Hudson, sort of the face of Mass Effect for many, many years, he left them in December and he has announced what is next, which is a studio called Humanoid Studios. And if you read their website, I don't know, if you wanted to, you could be like, so you're making Mass Effect, is it? It sounds quite Mass Effect-y. But yeah, no Mass Effect or Dragon Age at EA Play. I'm a little bit surprised. I would have thought we'd get something from, maybe not both, but I thought we'd get something, maybe. Another little, even if it was another CG trailer. But yeah.
Yeah, they just not to be. Sound like things which are really far off. And they put out another, didn't they sort of say, sorry, it's not going to be here, here's a kind of picture of Dragon Age?
I think so, yeah.
And it was just like a man standing on a thing.
I don't know if Dragon Age fans lost their shit at the picture of the man standing on the thing, but...
They're like, oh my God, it's the thing from the place.
And it's that man, and he's standing!
Him, that thing, that place, oh my God. Megaton.
So hopefully, if you enjoyed that, good. But yes, in other news, last week someone spotted a listing on the Australian classification board for an id Software game called Project 2021B. Now, in January...
Isn't that where Sherlock Holmes lives?
Correct, yeah. Oh, an id Software Sherlock Holmes game. That would be impressive. But yes, in January, someone spotted a listing for Project 2021A. And that one mentioned virtual reality, while this 2021B it's called a multi-platform computer game.
Yeah, Sherlock Holmes lives in 221B.
221B,
Baker Street.
yeah.
Maybe they're making a Doom game set in the Sherlock universe.
That would be so impressive. Big old
a
Doom
freaking
guy, but
shotgun.
with his little.
Watson, the game is afoot.
I mean,
I'd play
the big theory is that it's a new Quake because the rating that it was given by the Australian Classification Board
was badass.
Was M.
Right.
And both Dooms are rated 18 plus. I looked it up, and M looks to be like the equivalent of a 12s here. So yeah, people are thinking it's Quake. Have you any? I've no history with Quake, Matthew. I don't know if you do.
I mean, but back in the day, not like one of my favorite things in the world, but I was more of a point and click nerd at the time when that was massive.
You weren't into the killing, the murdering.
I was too busy playing the Discworld games.
Well, look, keeping it Bethesda and sort of when we were talking about Dragon Age and Mass Effect and them not coming out anytime soon, so it's all related. Elder Scrolls 6 is probably going to come out in 2032 because Todd Howard was talking to The Telegraph and he said, quote, "I have to be careful with what I say. It's a very long way off. I could sit here and explain the game to you and you would say, that sounds like you don't even have the technology. How long is that going to take? And so it's something that's going to take a lot of time. What we have in mind for that game. It's good to think of the Elder Scrolls 6 as still being in a design phase." It's a long way away, Matthew.
Look at that. It sounds like you don't. If I explain the idea, you think we didn't even have the technology. Well, I imagine it's going to be like. So imagine a guy goes into a house and he can pick up all their cheeses. And you're like, what?
Impossible. Impossible. Yeah, that's. It's been. Oh, I hope I'm right in saying this. I think it's been 3 years now. Never, is it? Is it 2 or 3 years since Elder Scrolls was revealed? It's since Elder Scrolls 6 was revealed.
It's got to be something like that. I mean,
I think it is. That's mad.
I feel like that is a game where they could sort of phone it into a degree and it would still do really well. They could just do, you could just do sort of Skyrim 2, for want of a better word, and come up with some new quests that, this idea of like, gameplay, there's going to be such a leap, the tech isn't available. I don't know if people necessarily need that. I wonder if you gave people the choice of something which was crazy ambitious but is 10 years away to like a bit more in keeping with what you already know and love, but you can have it in like 3 years. I would wonder what people would choose.
Yeah, just Skyrim with more quests, basically, and maybe set in a new world or something. Yeah.
How hard can it be to make a world? You're just like, like mountain here, bit of lakes there, some huts, fill them with cheese and mead.
Bingo, bango, job's a good one. Yeah, well, what more do you want?
Traveller, welcome
there you go.
to my cheese house.
There's a voice actor there. He's just auditioned. So, like,
Yes, I have meads and cheeses for you, weary traveller. Also, there are orcs in the cave.
And then you just get the paint bucket and duplicate that man and get the paint bucket and make him green.
There you go. They're not above that. Everyone's like, oh man, it was a real shame that the next Elder Scrolls game, every NPC was just a guy with a house full of cheeses who lived near an orc cave. I wish they'd maybe done more than that.
Cheese is good. Cheese is good.
It is.
Other news, PlayStation have bought a studio called Nixus Software. No, this is only relevant because Nixus Software are a PC port studio. So they've done a lot of stuff for Square. They did the Tomb Raider reboot trilogy, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and the recent Avengers. So Matthew, could this mean, there's... we're meant to be getting Uncharted 4 on PC, according to that PowerPoint slide that was from a couple of months ago. No word on that yet, but, could be looking at more of those lovely Last of Us clones coming to PC.
Get them on there. Get them in my belly. Anything to, eat into the exclusives and upset the PlayStation fans. Did you see all the PlayStation nerds this week trying to started a petition that
I did,
that Kojima should be encouraged not to make an Xbox game or something?
Like the second, in terms of embarrassing petitions in the week, second only to that one set up by the fella who wanted to give 25 grand to the German girl who was crying when Germany were being beaten by England. Mother of fuck, what a story. But yes, and finally, Bloober Team have announced something that was rumoured many months ago, and we spoke about it on here. They've partnered with Konami to make games based on, quote, existing and new IPs. Now, that could be the 2 Silent Hill games. It could be a Silent Hill game. It could be non-Silent Hill games. But Bloober Team and Konami are doing something together. So, I
don't know. Like, we've spoken on this on the Weekspot before about Blooper and Silent Hill, and I will reiterate that this idea does not get me excited. I think they've clearly got a lot of people who like Silent Hill, but based on their games, which just aren't scary and aren't really good enough, I don't think. I think there's nothing in what they've made that fills me with hope for what their Silent Hill might be. Or
both, if they're doing 2. Who knows? Fingers crossed.
Their games feel like someone played Silent Hill and just got like the wrong idea of why it was working.
So something to look forward to. That's good. So those are your information snacks for this week. It's not.
That was a pretty good. Like my gut was pretty.
Listen, a decent amount of info snacks, but Matthew, I don't have many headlines for you.
Oh,
but
God.
Still.
Do you have plural headlines and hot takes, or should it be headline and a hot take?
Take it away, Hugh.
Hello, I'm Hugh Edwards. Working in news is exciting.
Yes, headlines and hot takes.
One of my favourite bits of feedback we get instantly is from international viewers who don't know who Hugh Edwards is, and I've seen several people say it tickles them when they hear that, because they're like, I have no idea what that's about, but it amuses me no end that there's a man who says, hello, I'm Hugh Edwards.
It's like when you're listening to an American podcast and they start going on about baseball for 10 minutes and you're like, I don't know, who are these people? I don't know. But yeah.
Sorry, I absolutely trod on your intro there. I'm sorry.
That's fine. It's fine. There aren't many headlines. There is a headline. Because a lot of the news in video game land this week was info snack sized, really, not many main courses. But I do have one for you, Matthew.
Okay.
And I know that this is one that...
Sorry, I was opening my news gob again. I shouldn't...
I know this is one that you're going to be relatively excited about.
Okay.
So you know that Control lot, Remedy.
Oh, yeah.
They are working on a brand new co-op game called Condor. Yeah, this was revealed during the week, and it is a PvE 4-player spin-off. And they also revealed that they're working on this bigger budget Control game, but we'll talk about that in a second. When it comes to the co-op game, they said, we get that there is going to be skepticism about multiplayer, but I believe we can create shared experiences without compromising the unique DNA of who we are or the stories we want to tell. Yes, we need to rethink our angles, our techniques, our mindset, but we see it as an exciting challenge. What would a Remedy multiplayer game look like? It's simple as that, Matthew. That's my question to you. What would a Remedy multiplayer game look like?
I mean, it's not that hard to picture in terms of, like, from an action perspective. You know, they've got good action chops. They make, nice spectacular things. They've got lots of sort of fun powers. It's hard to imagine like 4 Jesse Fadens running around all chucking vending machines. That might be a bit OTT. But there are they sort of released a piece of art for this, right?
They did. They
of,
did,
of
which
kind of four sort of slightly tired looking dudes sitting on a bench, I believe.
the setting looks very controlled, but the gear that the lads are wearing doesn't look very, very controlled.
I'm a little hazy on my control lore, but there's lots of talks. There's lots of talk in the game about they are an organization. It's not just this one woman running around. They go off. They send teams to deal with events around the world and collect these objects of power or whatever they're called. There's this. We enter the game at their headquarters when kind of everything's kind of going to shit and it's all a bit kind of chaotic. But it suggests that there is a time where this is a more functional organization, and as part of that, they send teams out to do stuff. So one would think that would be an obvious fit. The idea that maybe you're going out on the doing these little kind of expeditions with the team to deal with these things.
Yeah,
potentially. It doesn't look like an organization like under attack. It looks like how it might look on a working day.
They look quite relaxed. The four,
and there's dudes
people
in like the offices to the side and stuff. So maybe a bit. I would be interested in seeing in this sort of expanded control verse universe sort of thing, kind of what the Federal Bureau of Control looks like when it's just getting on with its job, and what that entails for like the foot soldiers. That could be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, they're relatively relaxed, I suppose, because there is a body there in front of them.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe they go out and maybe that suggests they've just been out on a knackering mission, and that's the person they've brought back. I mean, the different look of them maybe like suggests different classes. I mean, it's not like that stuff's not like rocket science in terms of how kind of sort of these games work.
So do you think that quote from Remedy themselves about, we can see how people might be a little bit, wary of us jumping into this world, like you don't really think that that's the case? Like you actually...
Well, no, I think they've built Control not just as this one-off thing. I think that I get the impression from the way they talk about it that they had kind of grander ambitions for it. And they've kind of future-proofed it a little bit in that just as a piece of fiction, it's a world where, lots of different jobs and things happen. So I think that you can slide co-op into this world quite neatly without it feeling incredibly contrived. I mean, it won't be, the difference is like the pace of like walking around absorbing a story by yourself, but storytelling in the co-op space that's kind of super interesting as a kind of a frontier that people are kind of investigating and playing with on constantly. Like we're getting into lots of people are sort of trying to mix games you play together with storytelling in interesting ways. There's no reason why these very competent, interesting storytellers wouldn't have their own take on it. Yeah, at this point, to pass any kind of judgment on like a vague intention is daft. That in their announcement they are slightly defensive about it is, indicative that they know their fan base and they know what they want, and they don't want them to feel like they're, not going to get more of what they want, and that's not the case. They're making these other things as well, but I personally, I'm interested to see what a Remedy co-op game, which does try to like maybe bring in a bit more like narrative into the experience, what that would look like. I can't think what it would look like, but I don't make these things for a living.
And the thing is as well, like it's not a battle royale game, like this is a PvE 4-player co-op game. So yeah, I think that does give a lot of room for them to, as you said, like we kind of mess with story and include, elements of a Remedy created world that, people come to these games. That's that's why I suppose it's a big reason.
If they do this thing of like say it is about a team who go out and investigate these smaller episodes around the world. I mean, that could be great. Just a chance to see, this wider universe around, because this takes that, this all takes place in the same universe as Alan Wake, for example. The idea of seeing like more events like that and having a slightly more kind of free-form structure due to the kind of co-op element of it that lets you just zip off to loads of different locations that might be harder to pull off in a kind of coherent single-player game. I think the rules are almost a little bit looser in what you can do when people go in playing a multiplayer game. They expect to jump between lots of different maps and areas and things, and it kind of gives you a bigger sort of palette to play with. Yeah, I colour me interested.
What about a bigger budget Control game? Is there anything that you would like from Control 2 that you felt like it was missing from the original Control, or I don't know, you think like would be improved by doing X or Y or whatever?
I'd like I'd be interested to see like maybe a bit more variety of. I mean, these are really minor points of like sort of enemy types and things. I like the core like rhythm of Control. I like the powers and I like the setting. But there's definitely, you can kind of blow it up and have a bit more variety in the actual sort of things you're doing and the things you're fighting. It does feel like you're exploring a building which is hinting at all these other wild things that have happened outside the building. If there is a way to kind of get you into that stuff, I liked Control when it kind of flipped itself on its head and kind of took you to some weird place, or the building served up something which was totally unlike the rest of the building. At the same time, like I felt like it was a bit of a first attempt at a kind of sort of Metroid-y structure for them. The whole kind of getting powers and then backtracking and I liked that stuff enough, but there's there's an even bigger, more ambitious version of that for sure. This is still very easy to play this game as quite a linear sort of story experience, but to lean more into the freedom to approach it in lots of different angles, different ways, powers that open up exploration more interesting. Because basically here it felt like it was all pretty standard, and then you could basically fly, and then you could just sort of fly anywhere, and that's when you just then flew around the facility, sort of mopping up the last few sort of secret bits. So there's always improvements to be made, but there's only so much you can change as well before it stops being the kind of interesting story action kind of experience that it is. They definitely. I'm not advocating for like a open world.
Yeah. I hope they don't go open world.
No, or something like that. There's lots of things you can do, but I think they know what works for them and what they're good at and the kind of spaces they play well in. So
that's a while away, I would imagine. But yeah, the co-op game that appears to be the next thing we're going to be getting. So yeah, hopefully that'll be decent, basically. Matthew, that's kind of the only headline I have for you, really. But
stomach is already rumbling.
I do, of course. We will, of course, stop off at Tech Corner for just a moment because the blue screen of death, Matthew, the screen that we all fear in Windows 10.
I haven't seen a blue screen for death for a long time.
I remember I fiddled with my so silly. I went into the BIOS of my of my computer, and I was trying to overclock my CPU. Don't know why I was trying to do that, because I was doing
like Neo in the Matrix.
I was doing that, and I turned on my computer, blue screen of death, and it was basically, sorry, pal, you've rightly fucked this. I was like, oh no. But I just reset it, and I was like, okay, that's it. I've learned a lesson. I'm never going to touch that again because I don't know what I'm doing. But anyway, blue screen of death is going to become the black screen of death
Oh, nice.
in Windows 11. So, Matthew, my question to you is, naturally, we've done a lot of talking about Windows over the past while. What was the last room you painted? Changed colour?
That I personally painted.
Mm.
That would have been my room in a student house in my second year at university. And I did such a bad job of painting it that I lost a bit of my deposit. And because it was so shit. It was so shit. I find painting really wall painting really difficult, like getting it to a decent standard. And like, I won't lie, we had people paint our house. I mean, we had quite a lot of work done on it before we moved in. So it was an absolute wreck. So yeah, I wouldn't. I'm gonna try for the rest of my life not to paint a room because
you don't like.
I know how shit I am at it.
That's fair. Painting, I think, as an idea, it's a lot better. Like, I don't know, just kind of we'll kind of put down blankets all over the place, tape off the skirting boards. It'd be great. But then, in reality, I don't think it's the most fun activity, painting a room. So I get it. But those are your headlines.
Great respect for those that do it and do it well, but it's not me.
Those are your headlines and hot takes for this week. So now let's get on to the games that we have been playing in Show and Tell.
Show and Tell. Show and Tell. We can't afford a proper jingle. It's meant to be jingle.
Yes, Show and Tell is the part of the PC Gaming Weekspot where we take you through the video games that we have been playing over the past 7 days. And look at what we're starting off with, a video game that's not out for like the best part of 22 days or something like that, 21 days. Matthew Castle, please do tell the people at home, what video game have you been playing?
I've been playing a bit of Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
Oh, Matthew, your little face when you turn this on, I can only imagine. So do tell, how much of it have you I'm guessing this is a preview build of it, or a certain amount of it you can talk about.
Yeah. So this is the game is, for those that don't know, it's like it brings together Great Ace Attorney 1, 2, Great Ace Attorney Adventures, and Great Ace Attorney Resolve are the two games which weren't previously localized. They were made for the 3DS originally. I'm a huge fan of the Ace Attorney series, so obviously I was thrilled to find out they were finally getting localized, getting bundled together and released. This is the PC version. I don't know if I can say how much of it I've played because I can't. I've finished the first of the two games, and I'm into the second one so far.
Oh, wow, you've played a decent chunk then.
Yeah, I mean, that's about 40 hours so far.
Jesus Christ! Can you talk about? I'm guessing you can't talk about everything in the first game.
No, well, in the preview period, you can talk about I think the first, third, and fourth case of 5.
Okay. Well,
so you can, yeah. So, do you know Ace Attorney a bit, right?
I mean, it's the fella with the top hat, as we found out a couple of weeks ago.
Have you played them? Have you played the Ace Attorney games?
I've never played a single minute of Ace Attorney.
Okay, so, for the most part, that series is set in modern day. It follows Phoenix, right? He's a defense attorney, goes into court, he finds lots of contradictions in testimony and throws evidence. Lots of people shout, lots of people point their fingers. It's fucking rad. Everyone has a good time. Well, I have a great time. It's one of my favorite game series. This is a historical set Ace Attorney game. This is basically the pitch of it is that you're playing as one of Phoenix Wright's ancestors back in sort of the Victorian period. He's a Japanese lawyer, and he is in this. What you're watching at the moment is taken from the first case, which is set in Japan. But soon after this, you depart for London, where you become a lawyer there with your sidekick, who is a Japanese girl who's come with you. And you team up with Sherlock Holmes, of all people, to solve crimes. So it's sort of set in a sort of an interesting mix of kind of fictional, kind of Holmesian London, and this kind of like sort of mad its own sort of version. There's also weirdly the reason I sort of stumble on this a little bit. It's quite odd because traditionally Ace Attorney games, total fictional universe, doesn't really acknowledge the real world at all.
Okay.
This one, you've got Sherlock Holmes, and the Sherlock Holmes characters are very key to this story. There's also a famous Japanese author called Soseki Natsumi, who is a real life figure who is also in the story. So it's kind of occupies this weird space where it's sort of fiction, real life, its own thing, which is probably more interesting to me than people listening to this. But it's an interesting kind of stew of influences. A bit more grounded, I'd say, in like history and sort of
Sorry,
reality.
I'm just laughing at you saying it's a bit more grounded. As for those listening, I'm presuming a soldier or something slammed one of those spinning wheels onto a table with a baby
really
on his
daft,
back.
really funny. No, I guess that it feels like the creator of the series is a guy called Shu Takumi, who he also wrote and directed this pair of games, and it feels like he's researched the period massively. Like a lot of cases hinge on like technology of the time or things from the time. It just feels that's what I mean by grounded. It kind of it feels like it's drawing on a bit more stuff where the modern games are a bit more kind of loopier in a way. Mechanically, it's very, very sort of similar to the older games in that you are in each case you are defending someone and you're trying to kind of break witness testimony by presenting evidence that contradicts it. You can also kind of push people on evidence to maybe get them to reveal kind of new facts or things that don't kind of hold up. The two kind of big mechanics this has, which weren't in the previous Ace Attorney games, is that once you get to England, there's a jury system where you have 6 jurors watching the trial, and at times they'll decide, oh, we've heard enough, like we think this guy's guilty, and then you get to kind of like cross-examine the jury about why they think that, and you have to kind of try and sort of pitch the jurors against each other to try and kind of open the case back up again. Oh. So they'll all say like, well, this is the thing, so you're trying to find the contradictions between like their ideas rather than the evidence, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is kind of it's a bit of a riff on something Shu Takumi did there was a Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright game on the 3DS, which was sort of set in this sort of fantasy universe, which had these mob trials, which is kind of similar. The other big mechanic is in the investigation sections, which kind of come between the trials, sort of where you learn about the case. You're working with Sherlock Holmes, and he does his great deductions, which, if you know the Holmes character, it's where he looks at lots of little details on people and then kind of paints this picture of what they're about. In this universe, he's a bit of an idiot, and he kind of gets it wrong, and he does this great deduction. Then you basically replay it and try and correct it as it goes along by sort of pointing out, the mistakes he made, or he'll say like, the person was looking at this object in the room because of this. And you'll say, actually, they were looking at this because of this. And so you kind of, really, it's just a technique to like learn more information about the case. But it's presented in this quite fun way. I actually haven't got any in this footage here because of various like limitations, what you can and can't show.
Oh, right, yeah.
Really...
So does Sherlock Holmes act as... I don't know, telling the player this is definitely not what happened, so you can figure out what did happen.
The idea is, it's played entirely for laughs. He's super confident, and he's like, well, obviously it was this, and this, and then you're almost kind of like politely pointing him in the right direction, and you're like, well, maybe when you said it was this, it could have been this because of this, and as you change it, he kind of takes not responsibility for like what you're saying, but he's sort of like, oh yes, of course, that's what I meant to say, and all this kind of stuff. So it's played entirely for laughs, but that feels like it's mainly there to kind of liven up the investigation sections, which traditionally is the more boring bit of the game, because it's just straight like visual novel. You're just talking to lots of people. Everyone's going, this is what happened. Where this kind of brings in a little bit of puzzle solving into that stuff and makes it just, something to look forward to, and often the kind of the thing that you reveal in the deduction scenes will be quite like integral to what you're then going to argue in court. So it all kind of adds up very nicely. So far, I think this is absolutely brilliant. I'm a huge fan of the series. I will happily just play Ace Attorney games forever. It's mad to me that Capcom have made a series of games about defense attorneys, and there are like so there's 3, 4, 8. There's 11 of these games so far. Which you think about all the games that don't make it to 11 entries that this defense attorney game has. That's kind of wild. The historical period really changes things up. It changes the nature of, not to be too serious about it, but like what they know, through like forensics and things. The rules are just different back then. There aren't like as many blood tests and fingerprinting and all that. The game is sort of about the birth of sort of forensic investigation as well. It's kind of like a sort of theme to the game. So that's quite interesting. And the characters it plays a lot with like sort of dumb sort of British stereotypes. There's some quite interesting stuff about sort of the tensions of like Japanese, people, these Japanese lawyers working in Britain, like they come up against quite a lot of sort of like quite a lot of sort of bigoted sort of opinions towards them. There's quite a lot of prejudice towards them. Not in it, it's not like super hand wringing or anything like that. I mean, it's still like largely played for laughs, but there's some interesting sort of undercurrents there. It's brilliantly drawn characters, really funny writing. The mysteries are great. I mean, they're a bit more like Holmes mysteries. They're a bit more kind of like locked room and slightly more kind of arcane rather than, simple kind of like shootings in a room or whatever. It's slightly more kind of playful.
Like as somebody who's never played an Ace Attorney game, and from what you're saying here, like I'm hearing some comparisons to another series which I'm very fond of, and that being Yakuza. Like, are there similarities in that, the way Yakuza marries melodrama with the ludicrous side stories or whatever? Like, is Ace Attorney a bit like that in tone?
Like mechanically, obviously, like a completely different deal. This is straight like visual novel. Very, very linear. But in terms of that tonal things, like the characters are mad. They're full, they're most of their names are puns. Their character designs have got all these like comic animations. It looks quite silly, even though it's about a relative, the business of murder solving is kind of relatively serious. And often you're fighting these quite cartoonish villains, but when they snap and reveal their motivation, often there's quite tragic stuff in there. I wouldn't say it's quite as, I wouldn't say it's ever as like sort of comically kind of mawkish as some of Yakuza. It doesn't have the extremes. I think Yakuza can sometimes be like super, super sentimental, and then it's also like super violent and adult. And Ace Attorney never goes to either of those extremes. It sort of sits somewhere in the middle, but it is very melodramatic, for sure. It's very funny. The character concepts are what get me. Each case I'm excited to see just the new people it introduces me to, as much as I am like the mystery, and then sort of seeing what their deals are. Because the idea is that as you're pushing people in court and they get more and more irate, like they get more and more kind of crazed in their behavior, and it kind of, part of the fun is seeing how these people are going to break. So like this soldier here, for example, at first he's all very uptight, but as as the case goes on, you realize he's got this baby on his back, and it's the sort of struggle of him trying to kind of keep composed while also entertaining this baby he's trying to keep hidden, for example. It's quite daft and funny. There's one thing I will say about it. There's a Irish character in it who is a very like they're all written with quite broad. It's not spoken dialogue. It's just written text, and it's written with quite a broad characterization of an Irish voice, shall we say? Which I don't know if you'd like. Like there's because it's a bit more of an international adventure. So you meet a lot of Russians. There's a lot of Russians who speak a bit like the Russian guy on Star Trek. There's a lot of like W's instead of V's and that kind of stuff, which some people might find a bit hackneyed. I don't think it comes from an unpleasant place, but it's yeah. There's a lot of like to be sures.
I can imagine. But yeah, after
Your
playing
paddy whackery,
indeed,
as you call it.
So after 40 hours, but well, I don't know, like in a preview sense, you're very much enjoying it and looking forward to playing more.
But like this is just it's laser targeted at me. I mean, you honestly couldn't get a big Ace Attorney fan, so maybe take that with a pinch of salt. I mean, it does have some flaws so far, like. Some of the investigation sections, even with the deductions, are a little slow, I'd say. A little padded out. Like sometimes you're just jonesing to get to the next court section. Because a lot of the cases hinge on these quite weird historical quirks, it feels like there's a lot of over-explanation of how things work. Like there's literally like lectures on gas meters. And there's one case where like stereoscopic 3D is a key part of the case, and there's several points where people talk at great length about how stereoscopic 3D works, for example, which some people might find plodding. Also, I'm still not convinced that PC is the natural home for this game.
Is it not?
No, like
I'm moving the cursor around.
Because I've been mostly playing it on the Switch, and it's such a better fit for a portable game because like you can play a little bit before bed and you can kind of play half an hour here and there. The nature of the storytelling, the idea of sitting at my PC and watching quite static characters for 4 hours, But that's a broader note I have for like visual novels in general. Like they just fit portable play for me a lot better than they do on PC. Because they're not like that visually dynamic. And the animations are great and everything, but they're quite sort of slow, sedate games. So the idea of sitting there kind of just clicking through text for 40 hours so far is but
very much enjoying it and looking forward to playing more. Good.
Yeah, we'll hopefully have the full verdict closer to the time.
I'm looking forward to hearing it. We here at Rock Paper Shotgun want to create the best PC games related content out there. I mean, we're doing a lot of that already, but you can help us continue to do that and also help us do a little more. All you have to do is grab an RPS subscription over at rockpapershotgun.com/subscribe. You can support us at 2 different tiers. The standard subscription will give you an ad-free RPS, you'll get discounts on our merch, and you'll get a letter from the editor post every month too. The premium tier subscription gives you all of those lovely things I just mentioned, plus some exclusive articles and podcasts, as well as some smashing new video games and in-game items. I don't want to say free because you're paying money for the subscription, but it's a little something on top. So, if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, head on over to rockpapershotgun.com/subscribe and give us your money. Please. You get good things in return, so it seems like a win-win for everyone involved. In anticipation of a transaction and because my mother reared me well, thank you very much. Well, it's quite a visual novel-y week here on the Weekspot because I have gone back, I've played a remake, I suppose, of a game that originally came out in 2017, and that is Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. This did indeed come out 2017 as a free game, racked up millions of downloads. And on the surface of it, you would be wondering why this just looks like your normal dating sim-esque visual novel. And I'm a little bit hesitant to say this, but it feels like everyone sort of knows this now. In every piece of marketing, on every digital storefront, even on the official website, they say this. It's the first thing they say. So it's not a dating sim, basically. You know, if you don't want any spoilers, then skip this. But yes, it is a psychological horror. It's just, it is a visual novel that presents itself as a dating sim. So, and it's been really nice going back and revisiting this and kind of remembering how well they subvert expectations. Because for the first solid, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour, like it's not long, it's about 4 hours maybe, but you're this school-going teenager and your friend has asked you to join the literature club. So you go along and you're not too keen, but then you start to fall for the girls who are there. It's all very standard stuff. And in between the days where you're at this literature club, having conversations, again, it's all visual novel. You're clicking through it, as we said a second ago. You go home and you write a poem to present to the others the next day. And that's done by just selecting a few words that are there in the page in front of you. And some of these words will resonate more with different girls. So there's there's one girl called Yuri who she likes quite dark language. So yeah, it'll be words like, I don't know, there's a couple of them on screen there, like crimson or I don't know, death, whatever, macabre. And then there's the other one that likes cutesy language. So like if you do that, if you click those, your poem, it'll generate a poem that you never see. But when you present it to the girls, the one who likes the cutesy language, if you use cutesy language, she'll enjoy that, whatever. But that, you know, all of that kind of is set dressing to draw you into this world, because then it just goes, after about an hour, goes very weird, very dark. You're only, if you're watching this, seeing a little bit of it now. I've kept the visual spoilers to quite the minimum, but it is just terrific at doing that. The problem is that if you know this going into it, it does lose a bit of that impact, a bit of the impact of, you know, because like back in 2017, I remember being told to play this game and I was like, why? This doesn't look like the games that I enjoy. And I was just like, no, trust me, just play it. And when somebody does that, you know, it obviously has a greater impact. But still, it is so good at introducing this really fucked up shit. When at first you think it's going to be all lovely and, you know, nice and whatever else. But everything in that main base game, everything in the original game, it's all here. They haven't really changed. Well, they haven't changed anything bar the art. It's HD visuals now. There are a couple of new tracks as well in there, a couple of new songs. The big new thing in this is the new side stories. There's 7 in total, and they're not great.
Oh no!
Essentially, you're watching the origin story of the literature club play out between the characters, between the girls of the literature club. Your character isn't really here, and it's more about how they met each other, how they became friends, how the literature club was set up, and it's devoid of the genre subversion that makes the full proper game. It's just conversations about some of the issues that the girls have or whatever, you know, and confiding in each other, but you don't have that sinister touch to it. And I was clicking through sort of like waiting for something to happen and it never did. And I was like, oh, okay then. And that's So,
I
like,
mean, do you think there's enough of like fandom around the characters that is enough for some people? Or
probably. And that's where, yeah, if you know, like, I remember playing this and like really enjoying it, but maybe I'm just not as attached to these characters as other people. So if you do want this prequel content, then maybe you'll totally lap that up. Just for me, I was like, this isn't it. But still at the same time, very good and very enjoyable to go back and play this game and sort of remember why it is held in such high regard. One thing that I forgot to mention, there is talking about things being lost a little bit, like when you know it's a psychological horror. So when this game first came out, and I'm going to dance around it, but the game would do things to your actual files, right? On your computer. Now, because this has also come to consoles, they've had to create a sort of an in-game UI, an in-game interface, an in-game desktop. And the impact of like going in and messing with files is sort of lost a little bit when it's within the actual game itself. But I don't know, maybe that's just me. But yeah, again, nice to go back, play this game. Still very good, the actual base game. If you're coming for the side stuff, then I don't know, if you love these characters, maybe you'll enjoy it. But yeah, that is Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. Those are the games that we have played over the last week. So now it's time to test the knowledge of one another in a different kind of game we like to call Mystery Steam Reviews.
it's time for Mystery Steam Reviews. Yeah.
Yes, Mystery Steam Reviews is the part of the PC Gaming Weekspot where I, Colin Mahern, and he, Matthew Castle, test the knowledge of one another via Steam reviews that are a mystery. And the rules are as follows. Both I and Matthew bring 3 Steam reviews to the MSR arena, but we omit the name of the game associated with each review. One correct answer equals 1 point. While both of us have 90 seconds on each MSR, we both also have help in the form of 3 lifelines. These lifelines can be used at any stage during battle and also pause the 90-second timer. Each lifeline can only be used once and once only, and they are as follows. Publisher, where the hot seat haver learns the publisher of the game. Second opinion, where a second review is given to the fiery chair sitter. And genre, where the genre of the game is revealed to the one with the warm arse. Now, this week, the theme is... it's not that tricky to explain, really. It is video game series that have been turned into movies. So, for example, right, to use a non-PC example, one of us could have chosen a Super Mario game because of the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Any game in a series.
Any game in that series.
It's quite a small pool of games to pick from.
Oh, very small, because as well, it has to be like a film that released here or in America or whatever. Like, so there was an Ace Attorney film that wouldn't qualify. There was a Yakuza film, and they weren't released here.
I like how that rule took an already quite small pool of games and made it even smaller and more difficult. So have fun with this.
We'll see. We
shall see.
Matthew, here is your first Mystery Steam review. Most people think time is like a river that flows swift and sure in one direction. But I have seen the face of time, and I can tell you they are wrong. Time is an ocean in a storm. You may wonder who I am and why I say this. Sit down, and I will tell you a tale like none that you have ever heard. And that's from Chun Chun. It is recommended 14.2 hours on record, 11.5 hours at review time. Matthew, your time starts now.
Oh my god, what the hell is this? There's no description of the game at all. This is just someone wanking on. They've gone mad. Most people think time is like a river. So I'm guessing this has to be a speech from the game, otherwise this person has just lost their mind. Time is an ocean in a storm. Wonder who I am. So this is a famous quote from a game. Time is like an ocean. I guess this is a game about time rather than oceans. There was an Assassin's Creed film, so you could do Assassin's Creed Black Flag, for example. But I don't think he talks about the ocean being made of time. This does sound familiar. It does sound familiar. It is Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. I believe this is what he says at the start.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer. That game is him telling a story. I think this fits.
So yeah, not a very descriptive Steam review when it comes to the actual game. Nothing about the mechanics, nothing. But yeah, a lot of mention of water, a lot of mention of time. You were thinking maybe Assassin's Creed Black Flag, thinking about the water, but then you were time. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. Could that be it? Is this the game that features Prince Dastan, Jake Gyllenhaal? Matthew, I can tell you that the correct answer is The Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time.
Yes.
Good work. Yeah, not a great film, that. I've actually seen that one. Not terrific. Matthew, could I have my first Mystery Steam review, please?
You can hit a person into the ocean with a fish while they're vomiting after eating a coconut ball. Less poetic than your last one. The amazing Wolfie recommends this with 56.4 hours on record, but only 37.4 at the time of review.
Time starts now. You can hit a person into an ocean, more water, with a fish while they're vomiting after eating a coconut ball. Ooh. Now, which Hitman is this?
That's bold. It might not be a Hitman game.
There were two Hitmans films. One with Rupert Friend, one with Timothy Olyphant. I've never seen the Rupert Friend one. I've seen the Timothy Olyphant one. I think it was Rupert Friend. Anyway, games.
It was Rupert Friend.
Oh, which Hitman is this? Coconut ball, fish. Is this Hitman 2 with the DLC? Is that new? No, what's I can't remember the name of the level, but I'm pretty sure you're on a harbour. Well, Hitman 2 also has the Isle of Sigil, whatever. Hitman 2 is all I have, I think. I'm not sure.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, let's say Hitman 2.
So you were zoned in on Hitman quite quickly there. Assuming this is a Hitman game, you then tried to place Hitman based on a fish and a coconut ball. I mean, a lot of props are reused across Hitman, but this feels like quite an iconic moment from a Hitman game. The correct answer is Hitman 2.
Yes!
Actually, the Miami map.
Oh, is it Miami?
Yeah, it's got that like pier around the back, and you can take over the stand and serve the guy the coconut snack. Then he goes and pukes.
Yeah. So I was thinking about the wrong level, but the right game. Okay,
right
that'll
game.
do. Matthew, would you like your second Mystery Steam review?
I would love it.
I can't believe I got a whole free fighting game with my bowling game. And that's from Whiskey. It is recommended 11.9 hours on record, 1.7 hours at time of review. Matthew, your time starts now.
I mean, this instantly makes me think Yakuza, but that film didn't come out in the West, right?
Correct. Yeah, I did say that off the top. I used Yakuza as an example. Yeah.
So it's not Yakuza. This is not a Yakuza game, but there's got to be a game. You fight, but it's got a side game where you can go bowling. A side game where you can go bowling. This isn't Hitman. It's probably going to be an open world game where you can go open world and do some bowling. GTA hasn't been turned into a film. Oh man alive. I'm trying to think. It's annoying because I don't want to say the names of the films out loud just in case they inspire you for later rounds. Can I get the publisher for this?
You can. So I'm pausing the timer at 26.
I completely forgot about the lifelines. That was so dumb. Oh my god. I sat here talking to myself.
As Matthew uses his publisher. The publisher of this video game is Bandai Namco Entertainment. Bandai Namco Entertainment. Would you like to use any other lifelines or?
No, that's fine.
Okay, restarting the timer now.
Well, there's a Tekken film, I think. And there's definitely a Tekken thing where there's a mini game where you go bowling, but I'm not very good on my Tekkens. I'm just gonna have to guess Tekken Tag Tournament 2.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
So, free fighting game with my bowling game was the Steam review. You were thinking maybe is this an open world? The publisher revealed this game to be published by Bandai Namco Entertainment. Which then twigged with you there's been a Tekken film. Not very successful, but still a Tekken film. And then you were thinking, which Tekken is this then? You've ended up on Tekken Tag Tournament 2. And I can tell you, Matthew, that the correct answer is Tekken 7. It's literally the only Tekken that's on PC, Tekken 7.
You see, I say Tekken Tag Tournament 2 because that one was on Wii U, and I sort of remember it having mini games.
I think that one had bowling as well. Yeah. Matthew, could I have my second Mystery Steam review, please?
Like its predecessors, the gameplay revolves around parkour and combat. The parkour is fine, if not enjoyable on some occasions. The remade combat is an abysmal failure that has moved from mindless hack and slash to an almost fighting game-esque duel, lacking depth to be engrossing, says a Grieber. Not recommended after 13 hours.
Time starts now. Now, I don't know for definite, but this could be Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. And I was wondering when you were saying it, because even after last week's discussion, and Don't Talk at All and We All Blow Up, you were saying the hardest thing to do is like get one word of the title and then go from there. It's not believable. You need to pull it out of the bag from nowhere. Which is what you did with the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time.
Unless I took into account that conversation, I'm trying to set you up for a fall.
Indeed. Now, I'm not 100% confident, so I am going to use a lifeline. Yeah, I'm going to pause the timer at 32 seconds. You did a good enough job that I'm going to have to use a lifeline. I think I'm going to use my publisher lifeline, please.
Publisher for this is Ubisoft.
Ah, shit. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. Yeah, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, final answer.
That's your final answer?
Yeah. If it's Assassin's Creed, no.
So, this review mentions parkour and combat. Two key ingredients, like its predecessors. The gameplay revolves around parkour and combat. Sands of Time. Arguably the game that introduces a lot of parkour to Prince of Persia. The correct answer is Prince of Persia 2008.
Oh. Oh well, should have been more sure. I had the lifelines there.
I think with this one, like, I was thinking like the predecessors, because pre Sands of Time doesn't really have that.
No, I had Sands of Time, and
what I was really hoping was that you were going to think this was Assassin's Creed. I was really planning to laugh in your face because you were going to say Assassin's Creed for a Prince of Persia game. I even picked a second review, which made it sound more like Assassin's Creed. But you, I genuinely did come to Sands of Time genuinely in that first question. So,
shit.
Yeah.
Right, Matthew.
My mind games aren't that clever, I'm afraid.
Matthew, here is your third and final Mystery Steam review. I usually don't do reviews, but due to critics slaughtering this game, I had to. I love this game. The critics said the actors were pretty cringe, and I agree with them just a tiny little bit, but overall, it was okay. The handling of the cars was kinda weird, but I got used to it pretty fast due to many handling customization options. And that's from Sneaker Snock. It is recommended 7.8 hours on record, 3 hours at time of review. Matthew, your time starts now.
See, the talk of cars, customization, and actors makes me think of the Need for Speed that had live actors in it. There was one which had, it was around the time of the film, or am I confusing that with an actual film of Need for Speed? But there has been a film of Need for Speed. But I swear there was a game which had actors in it. Give me my genre. Give me both, and both my genre and my second opinion.
Okay, so second opinion and genre. Second opinion, or the genre of this is an online open world racing video game.
Yeah, okay.
And the second opinion is, I am kind of shocked at the low ratings here. It's mostly positive, but yet I can't help but say that this game might be the best arcade racer I've ever played. The visuals are picturesque. Every frame just actually looks like an amped up promotional screenshot. This applies especially to when you're at your highest speeds. I played it on Ultra. The cutscenes are literally not that frequent. I'm getting one cutscene per hour, and the FMV cringe is good. Overall, there's not much other than cop AI that the older games did better.
Oh, what was this shitting game called?
Restarting the timer 101 now.
Was it just called Need for Speed? Was it Need for Speed? There was like Rivals. It's not Shift. It's not Hot Pursuit. It's not. There was one called Rivals. I swear they did like one which was just called like Need for Speed. And it was like reset. And I think they reset it because it was of the film. I'm just going to say Need for Speed.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Almost straight away you were thinking Need for Speed.
Yeah.
Because it mentioned acting, it mentioned cars and customization and handling, whatever else. And using your lifelines only kind of confirmed that initial thought. But then you were going, which Need for Speed is it? You've ended up on Need for Speed. And I can tell you, Matthew, that the correct answer is Need for Speed.
Yes.
Well done. Matthew, could I have my...
Was it the film or the game that had Aaron Paul in it?
The film. I've also seen the film Need for Speed. He basically plays Jesse but it's not as good, essentially.
Jesse also had a need for speed, but of a different kind.
Oh, classic Castle. Matthew, could I have my third and final Mystery Steam review, please?
You play as some French dude with a kleptomania problem. He also witnessed his father die, Bruce Wayne style. Says communism, recommends it after 2.7 hours.
Time starts now. You play as some French dude who steals things and his father dies. Oh, that's quite descriptive. Oh, and it's not helping me. What games do you steal stuff? Skyrim? Cheese? Thief? I don't think there was a Thief film, was there?
No.
He plays a French dude who steals stuff.
And you got clues.
I do, yeah. What am I doing? Pausing the timer at 54. Could I have both my second opinion and my genre, please? Because I'm not too sure.
Your genre? Oh, it's a stinker. Action adventure video game. Second opinion. Horrible game engine. You will not only be transported back to the French Revolution, you will be transported back to the beginning of the computer revolution.
Okay, restarting the timer now. Oh! Assassin's Creed Unity. That's the French one, isn't it? Is it? Syndicate is England. Black Flag Pirates. 3 America. 2 Italy. I don't know why I've done them in that order. His father dies. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. There was a whole... I'm just trying to think. Video game films. There was an Assassin's Creed. Max Payne.
Max Payne could be French.
I don't think he is.
Maximum bread.
Yeah, I think Assassin's Creed Unity is the best I can do, I think. Oh, Assassin's Creed Unity, yep, that's it.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
So, you're thinking Assassin's Creed, you're thinking France, you're thinking Unity. Not thinking Assassin's Creed Liberation. Correct answer is Assassin's Creed Unity.
Liberation, was that the Vita one, and then it came to...
it did have a French character, I think. I only say that because I thought, in my head, I was like, oh no, I'll do the French one, and thought it was called Assassin's Creed Liberation in my head, but I don't know why.
Right.
I was hoping you were going to make the same mistake, but you didn't. You were a smarter man than I.
That was better than I thought, like more enjoyable than I thought, because it kind of forces you to pick maybe like different...
Wouldn't go that far. But draw's fun, I guess.
That's Mystery Steam reviews for another week. So now it's time to answer your burning questions. So let's kill the man. Burning Questions is the part of the PC Gaming Weekspot where indeed we take your correspondence, your burning questions, and then we read them out in the show. It works. It's a system that works. Don't try to break it. You can email us Weekspot at rockpapershotgun.com, and then we might do all the things that I just said. So, the first question is from Lucas, who gave us a £10 YouTube super chat thing when the last episode of the Weekspot premiered on YouTube. So thank you very much, Lucas. Very, very kind of you. Lucas said, when you were growing up, did you think you would land where you are now career-wise? What profession did you dream about when growing up? Astronaut option not allowed. So, what did you want to be when you were a child, essentially?
Not an astronaut. That would be terrifying. Think of all the stuff that could go wrong.
Yeah, never really appealed to me either.
Like, more often than not, the only stuff you hear about astronauts is they've blown up.
There was one time in the late 60s where they didn't, but apart from that,
okay, the headline there was a bit bigger and sexier. I don't know, like having to go to the toilet in a weird space toilet or just your suit.
All right. We've established you didn't
lasagna paste.
We've established you didn't want to be an astronaut. When you were 5, 6, 7 years of age, what did you want to be?
I can't remember that far back. I quite liked the idea of being a detective growing up. I was really into like spies and detective stuff. And it's only when you're older and you realise that real life police detectives, it's not all like
it's not locked room
mysteries. It's like someone's dog's eating their child or something. It's really depressing. It's just sad. It's a sad job, meeting a lot of sad, broken lives, which isn't fun. It's not like Sherlock Holmes running around having a laugh.
I can't really remember when I was 5, 6, 7. Like the earliest memory I have of like, oh, that's what I'd like to be as a musician. That's as far back as I can go. But yeah,
as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a musician.
Yeah.
Goodfellas, isn't it?
Always. Oh, right. Sorry, that was lost on me. I don't think I've ever seen Goodfellas. I don't think I have.
You'd like it.
I should do. Yeah, it's Sopranos-esque. But that's what I remember. Like I don't know. I never had any of those stereotypical sort of like, I want to be a fireman, an astronaut, whatever.
Did you think could you ever envision a future where you were going to end up as a games journalist?
Yeah, because I suppose that has come to me now, actually. Yeah, I do. When I read, I used to get official UK PlayStation magazine for a small bit, and then it was wildly expensive, so I was like, fuck that. I
thought discs.
I really enjoyed the thought of being a games journalist, and I thought like I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what it entailed. I didn't know. It's like when I don't know. I work in a pet shop. Oh, you get to play with the animals all day? No, I clean up shit. Like I didn't know what a games journalist entailed, but I was like, that would be a cool job. So I suppose I suppose maybe I could say that. So yeah, did I envision I would end up here? Maybe not exactly in the situation I am in, but I could foresee a situation where I would be doing some thing like this, basically. I mean, you've been doing this since you were like 11, so it was very easy for you to see yourself doing this job.
I was 11. Yeah, again, reading them, I didn't think, it's always seemed to be the mags I read, the staff like very rarely changed on it. So you just assumed, oh, these are the people who are going to make this thing forever, and not to sort of like pin your hopes on being able to do that. So it's quite a nice, pleasant surprise that I did end up getting to do it.
So thank you very much, Lucas, for that. Bobby got in touch. Bobby said, "Hi guys. The week spot remains a highlight that I look forward to every week." Thank you very much, Bobby. First question, is there a way to support the show other than donating during the live stream? I'm never free to watch it, unfortunately, but would love to throw a few quid your way. Well, I'll answer that in a second. Burning question is, have either of you tried out or kept up with Stadia recently? My wife and I had a kid last year, so I had to sacrifice my fancy PC setup for a thrifty laptop, and Stadia has been a godsend. I can keep playing the older /indie / less intensive games on my GOG and Steam libraries, but Stadia lets me play many of the newer AAA titles without the huge investment and space required for gaming PC. From personal experience, the tech behind it is absolutely brilliant, but I live in fear it will disappear any moment because Google. What's your take on the industry/media's take on Stadia? Does it have enough people championing it? Will it survive? Much love, you guys rock, Bobby. Thank you very much, Bobby. Your first question, the best way to support the Weekspot probably is to become a Rock Paper Shotgun subscriber, which is rockpapershotgun.com/subscribe. Probably.
Supporter.
Subscriber.
On the site.
Subscriber, yeah.
Is it called subscriber now?
It's been hard to get a final answer on what it is, but all the language I have
Sorry,
read.
I didn't mean to confuse your sales pitch.
All the language is referred to as a subscriber now rather than a supporter. Either way, what used to be called the RPS supporter program.
Right.
So yeah, go to that link that I mentioned and you get extra stuff, extra articles, you'll get an extra podcast, you'll get an ad-free website, all that type of thing. That's probably the best way to do it, to be honest, because you get a little bit on top. And I don't know, if there's a dialogue box that tells you, why are you here? Maybe you could just put a little mention in there, perhaps, would be good.
I like the videos.
The other question, Stadia, will it survive? I don't know. Stadia is an odd one because, like, in games, you have two massive companies in Amazon and Google who say that they're trying to make a crack at it, but they haven't cracked it yet. Amazon have their MMO coming out soon. They had Crucible. They just haven't had any major hits. Obviously, Google have Stadia, but it just seems like a non-event, doesn't it? Stadia.
Yeah, I think like technically it's fine. I think I watched Catherine playing, I want to say Doom Eternal on it last year, which is obviously a pretty intensive game and requires very kind of twitchy response and everything to kind of keep on top of it, and seemed impressive enough. So on a tech level, I think we're kind of getting there. I think the problem with it has always been like the business model of like paying full price for a game, which you can like own a sort of more, a physical copy or a more, what's perceived as a more reliable digital copy on Steam. All these things can vanish in an instant, of course, but there's something a bit more tangible about something you've got installed, I guess, than something you're just sort of like loading from the cloud. I was always amazed that was the pricing model. Like, I think if you did like a Stadia that was more like Game Pass, and that was the pitch, and you threw like money at it that way, which is like, a big old risk. But I think that's kind of the only way of doing it because, Xbox is sort of almost trumping this now because it has got that cloud streaming element in Game Pass. I don't think everything in Game Pass you can stream. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But as a pitch, this idea of like, I think the logic behind it, isn't it, that it's streaming's meant to be more accessible because you don't have that tech cost. It's just meant to be, you press the button, it starts, pick up, but you don't have to install anything. And yet, I don't think buying individual games is the most user-friendly. That's more of a core gamer thing, where I think if you bundled it up in the language of streaming, like, this is like Netflix, you pay 10 quid a month, and here's what you can stream, people might get their head around it a bit more. I think it's more of a delivery. And
yeah, I was quite surprised when Stadia started and they were charging people for individual games. I was like, wasn't what I was expecting at all. I was expecting the Netflix delivery, the what do they call it? The over-the-top service. But that obviously wasn't what it was, and the kind of library appears to be lacking somewhat. Now, again, I can see, like, in the situation that Bobby is in, Stadia might work a treat, and I totally appreciate that. But, like, will it last? I mean, Google have loads of money, so
yeah, I still believe in the concepts of it. Because I remember when we went to the Baldur's Gate 3 reveal thing, because obviously that's tied quite closely to Stadia. People at Larian were certainly on board with the accessibility idea of it, of like, it's nice that this game won't necessarily be tied to you owning an incredibly expensive piece of PC hardware, especially in this day and age with like the graphics card situation. So it's a nightmare. Like the idea of being able to like get like those graphics for cheap, I still think there's something in that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's an unreasonable offer. It's just I just think that the full whack price of things it's just off, and I feel like they've lost the confidence of people now, and it's very hard to imagine what it's going to kind of be and how it can kind of turn things around. But I'm glad it's doing. It feels like Bobby is getting all the positives that you're meant to get from it. Which is
exactly.
It's maybe in some ways a more financially sensible way of being able to play PC games.
And our final question is from Ulsp and her beans. Ulsp and her beans says, "Hi lads, what's the most overrated chocolate bar in your opinion? Loving the Weekspot as always. Thanks, Ulsp and her beans from Sheffield, home of the world's oldest football club." Thank you very much.
True?
I mean, I thought it was.
Does that mean football was invented in Sheffield?
I thought it was Notts County were the oldest. Well, it would either be Sheffield Wednesday or Sheffield United, I'm guess. I don't know. Anyway, we'll take her word for it. The most overrated chocolate bar. No,
I just looked it up. It said Sheffield FC is the oldest surviving independent football club.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
So we shouldn't accuse our listeners of being liars.
Great stat. Keep those local facts coming. We like them. Matthew, now we could sit here, we could talk, I think this one is overrated, I think that is overrated. However, seeing this question come in, I did see, all right, what chocolate bars do people rate? So I do have the top 10 chocolate bars.
Okay.
Favorite chocolate bars of the UK. It was a survey conducted in 2020. It's the best I have. So
we're going to decide if these are overrated or not.
Yeah. So 10.
Oh, this is like my dream segment.
10 Dairy Milk Caramel. Do you want me to will I go through the top 10?
I'll take that is not overrated. That's good.
That's it. Yeah. 10 is.
It's delicious. The only thing that's off about that is the overly sexy rabbit that they used to use to sell them. I didn't really know how we were meant to feel about that rabbit.
Oh, I know how we were meant to feel about that rabbit, Matthew.
I don't know. Why try to make an animal meant sexy? To feel, like, what are you trying to achieve with that? What am I meant to do with that?
Come on,
No.
Caramel's delicious.
Yeah.
At 9. Now this is where our roads may diverge. Bounty.
Oh, fuck Bounty. It's disgusting.
Oh, yeah!
I hate coconut. You chew it forever. You get into the infinite chew cycle with Bounty.
Finally, we agree on something else.
Just chewing on grass. You're like, what are you eating? You're like, Bounty that I started eating 17 years ago. I fucking hate Bounties.
It is.
What a curse.
It's the spawn of Satan. That's what that tastes
Disgusting.
like. Vile. Devil's food. Yeah. Horrible. 8. So that's overrated. 8. Crunchy.
No, I like crunchies.
I like crunchies as well. Yeah. A solid. If anything, well, I suppose it's the 8th favourite bar here. Before seeing this, I would have said underrated. I think crunchies are a solid bar.
Yeah.
7. I'm pretty sure this is a personal favourite of yours. Whisper.
Oh, classic. I know. I'm amazed it's only at 7. It's amazing how just adding some little bubbles of air to chocolate can make it such a different experience.
No, I think they're stretching the definition of a chocolate bar here.
Okay.
And when I say stretching, I mean using it incorrectly. But at number 6 is Terry's Chocolate Orange. That's like
you can buy it as a bar.
Oh, you can. I forgot that.
I like Terry's Chocolate Orange a lot. I'm a big fan.
As do I. I don't think I'd ever. I mean, I'd get the orange at Christmas, and it's very tasty. But I don't know if I'd ever like buy a bar.
It's debatable whether it's a bar. But orange chocolate, I'm a big fan of. The tap and unwrap, a very like tactile, enjoyable experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love that we get to smash a big ball of chocolate as part of like polite society. That's great.
And again, we were talking about ads, very memorable ads in the 90s. It's not Terry's, it's mine. So,
Do you know
stuff.
before they made the chocolate orange, Terry's made a chocolate apple?
No.
It's true. I learned that at the York Chocolate Museum.
Oh, that is a fascinating. And just absolutely died on its arse? Or
Yeah, I mean, this was like, sort of Victorian times. I think it's biblical. Because all the chocolate people, they're all, what the hell are they called?
chocolatiers? I don't know.
No, they're all a particular like religious denomination. I've forgotten what it is. It's Quakers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's always like weird biblical stuff.
I
guess which is maybe where the apple comes from. I don't know.
Interesting stat. 5. Kit Kat.
I'm a big fan. I really like I really like the little 2-fingered ones as a little snack. I love a mint Kit Kat. Kit Kats are really strong. Feels like you can't always see it because a lot of people are anti-Nestle. Feels like a bit tainted because of that. But if we can put aside ethics, delicious.
Kit Kat's very tasty, and also Kit Kat Chunkies.
Oh my god, Kit Kat Chunkies,
different class,
heavenly bar.
Number 4 is a Dairy Milk fruit and nut. Right reaction, Matthew. Right reaction. Shit. Get out of here with your nuts and chocolate.
Oh yeah.
Fucking bullshit.
That's just like, I don't really know. Like, make your mind up. I don't mind dairy milk whole nut, but the fruit is what it's just like, it's chocolate of shit in there and fucking, It feels like the ingredients you have left over, you're like, oh, we've got all these fruits and nuts, and it's just like, bung it in. Never the main event. Fruit, I'm like, as a general rule, I'm super down on raisins.
Oh, I won't lie. I do enjoy a raisin.
Oh no!
In particular, when covered in chocolate and sold indeed as chocolate raisins.
It's shriveled and all. It's like the pensioner of fruit.
Eating an old man's bollock. It's so tasty. At number 3, Snickers.
No.
Good man. Right reaction.
I'm not a big peanuts guy. Snickers. Just the whole brand does nothing for me. I don't really know what it's going for. Feels super American in a way that kind of leaves
Is that
me a bit
because
cold.
of the Mr. T stuff?
Just generally, I don't know. Something about the design of it. It's not a very welcoming package. It looks sporty. It looks like American football.
Well, I mean, it used to be called a marathon, didn't it? Yeah, that was Snickers, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's very like, it feels like Snickers should, you should say it and then hear an air horn. I'm not a fan. What the fuck am I talking about?
Number 2.
What does that mean?
Number 2 is Galaxy.
So I like Galaxy chocolate, but not necessarily in that bar form.
Okay, what bar form?
Well, I'm big into those counters, like the naked minstrels.
Yeah.
That for me is my ideal delivery system for Galaxy chocolate. I would never really just buy a bar of Galaxy.
I'm the same. I would probably, my delivery system would be minstrels.
I used to really like minstrels, but I don't know. I think my mouth is a bit lazier now, and not having to crunch through that outer shell to get to the chocolate inside. The counter is just like, here I am. I'm all chocolate.
It's the meat. Yeah.
Just enjoy.
And number 1 is, any guesses before I reveal?
I I'm hoping it's straight up Cadbury's Dairy Milk. I'll be disappointed if it's a fucking Mars bar.
Number one, favorite chocolate bar in the UK, according to this one survey that I found that was conducted in 2020, is a Dairy Milk.
It's classic. It's a classic, and you can get that wrong because a Yorkie is just a bar of Nestle chocolate, but a Yorkie is bad.
Well,
the
that's
design
because
of it's off, like the tone of it. It's very like, I know it's like jokingly aggressive with it. It's not for girls and all that stuff. But
does it still do that? I doubt it still does that.
It's just a bit. I think a Yorkie is like too much hard work. A Dairy Milk is just. It's just like, enjoy.
I am chocolate, eat me. And you're like, yeah.
Well, Yorkie's a little bit like, you're doing this on my terms. You know? Do you know what I mean?
I do. No, I just like, yeah. No, you were right a minute ago and we were like, what are we doing? So thank you very much. I bet you didn't expect as in-depth answer as that.
That's what we should. The whole week's should just be candy talk.
Chocolate. Yeah.
I would love to have a spin-off candy show. That's all I'm interested in.
We'll come up with a clever. How could you turn Weekspot into? There's no chocolate called Spot Week. We'll figure it out.
Sweet spot.
Oh, there you go. Done in one. So thank you very much to everyone who got in contact with us. You can email us at any stage throughout the week. Weekspot@rockpapershotgun.com, and then we may read out your correspondence on the show after the man screams. It's all good fun. So yes, thank you. Thank you. So now it is time to wrap this podcast up. There are many ways that you can, kind of get more of us. If you want more of us after watching this, I don't know what has been, an hour and 3/4. You can follow us on social media. I am at Colm_Hearn, Matthews at Mr. Basil_Pesto, Rock Paper Shotgun is at Rock Paper Shot. You can talk to some like-minded people on Discord, discord.gg/Rock Paper Shotgun. If you want to watch the PC Gaming Weekspot, head over to youtube.com/Rock Paper Shot. If you want to listen to the PC Gaming Weekspot, subscribe to our podcast via all your podcatching apps. Subscribe to all of Rock Paper Shotgun's podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. If you want to buy some merchandise, head over to store.readpop.com and click on the Rock Paper Shotgun button. You can buy some t-shirts and a hoodie, maybe? Or just t-shirts. You can buy stuff.
You're so invested in this.
You can buy stuff. Also, the thing that I mentioned earlier, rockpapershotgun.com/subscribe. You get extra articles, podcasts, other things, ad-free website. Do that. But for all of your Rock Paper Shotgun and PC needs, head to rockpapershotgun.com. I'm feeling very sporty after all this chat of Snickers, and it's made. What did he say? It's made. It's not. It's made for nut. It's what did Mr. T used to say? It's not for nuts. It's not for girls. Was Yorkie? What was Snickers?
It's not for nuts. I'm very politically incorrect. Isn't it something like nuts.
I
thought it was like you were an asshole until you ate a Snicker, and it kind of like.
Oh, that was the one that came after Mr. T. That was like.
It's like you're an asshole until you've eaten Snickers. That was his motto.
It would be Elton John going like, "Ooh, I hate wet towels when I'm getting out of the shower," and then he'd eat a Snickers, and it'd be like, "Oh, you're such a diva before you've had your Snickers, Elton."
Yeah,
that's what it is now. But yeah, the Mr. T was like something to do with nuts. Anyway, this has gone on too long. Now is
PC the fool who doesn't eat a Snickers.
That was probably it, yeah. So now it's time for my least favourite part of the show. This is the part of the show I must bid the listener, the viewer, adieu. So say goodbye, Matthew Castle.
Bye.
And say goodbye, Colm Ahern Sloan. I got foe.